Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is McGuire Galing, and I'd like to thank you for clicking on this video today. Today, I'd like to talk to you about a specific word that I have used in my life to make my negative scenarios that I look at much more general, and my positive scenarios much more specific. The word is why. Why? When faced with an issue, we could look at, for instance, you got into an argument with someone. Now, this person and you could just not agree on whatever it was. And it could be the smallest thing or the biggest thing. It could be about religion and politics. Or it could be about what you guys wanted to do and you guys just ended up getting into an argument about it. Well, you could use why when you're reflecting on it later. Why did I become upset with this person? Well, I feel like I wasn't being heard, and I feel like I was right, and this person was wrong. Okay, why? Why did you actually have that feeling? Well, I needed them to think the same way that I do in order for me to be calm and collected, for me to be happy. Wow, you've just changed that whole scenario from being so angry at that person to suddenly you realize I could have just, I could have just walked away. I could have accepted what they said and just said, all right, we'll see how that goes. Go ahead. But I chose to stand there and prove a point because I felt powerless enough that I needed this other person to think the same way that I do. There's your problem. Now, we've just boiled this very specific problem down to a very general issue. The feeling of powerlessness and needing others to feel the same way you do so that you feel good. This technique you can take a multitude of problems and boil them down to a very small amount of issues actually within yourself. And using why can make them so general that when you begin to look at the true issue going on, not just what it was, but what was going on within you and why you needed that person to change, for instance, you can actually start to solve multiple areas of your life through this one scenario. And that's really powerful. Now, taking this on the flip side, the other side of the coin, you can use this word why in a positive way. When you're having a good time, when you're by yourself, when you're taking a walk, you could say something is beautiful. You could say that's really cool. I had a lot of fun. Well, why? Well, the birds were singing, and I just thought that was awesome. I saw some cool people, cool-looking people. I talked to someone cool. They were really interesting. They told me about this, and this. Or you didn't even have to talk to anyone. You could have just been strolling alongside of the road. You saw an interesting car. You saw something that really just lit you up. And you can get so much more specific and keep using the word why to get more specific about these things. And then, this is the best way to increase momentum in a positive way. Because you're taking what might have been a small instance and making it so much bigger. Just the opposite of what we were just talking about with a negative circumstance. You You want to take the negative circumstance and make it as small as possible so it's much more manageable. And you want to take the positive experiences and expand on them and expand. Because your negative experiences, when you have one, or you're feeling like you're powerless, or anything like that, you're just not truly aligned. You're not being yourself. That's not who you truly are. You're so much more powerful than to need someone else to think the way you do. And then, when you've used this in the negative way, to turn those negative, large issues, the large amount of issues in your life, and boil them down to a much more manageable size, suddenly the positives begin to outweigh the negatives extremely. And positive reinforcement is always great, because when you're positive and you're happy, you are thinking the same way that Source or your higher self or whatever you believe in, God, is thinking about that current situation as well. Why can be used for your own power. And I really hope you use it too, because when we become more self-empowered, when we realize who we truly are, these positive beings that we can be, we don't need to be negative. We can look at the negative and make it much more manageable, and rather than focusing on the problems, the solutions is what we begin to focus on. You just can't come to a solution when you're still stuck in the problem. And when you boil your problems down to a size that you can manage, it's so much easier to find the solutions. We really do live a wonderful life, and it's amazing that we have the choices that we do, such as this. We can change any circumstance to be what we want it to be. It's all about the perception. We truly are powerful, and we don't need anyone else to think the way that we do. As long as we're happy, we're in alignment. And when we're happy, we're moving towards our desires, and that's where manifestation comes in. It's all interconnected. When you're positive, the things that you want come to you much more easily, with much less resistance. And when you can boil down your negative issues so much smaller, so that the big area of your life is just so much more positive, you are so much less resistant, and you can move towards what you truly want, rather than getting stuck in the mud of life that you can find. You truly are powerful, and it just takes a little bit of practice to understand that. You can't change anyone when you're negative. The only way you can change someone is by being yourself. It's by example. You can't teach someone to be different just by telling them to be different, or telling them what would be better for them. You could tell them that from a positive point, but if they don't agree with you and you come down to their level, you're meeting them right where they're at. And rather than doing that, staying in a positive mindset can show them an example of what they can be like. It's going to affect them. And even if you don't see the manifestation of them becoming more positive, you just being more positive in your life will have a tremendous effect on the people around you, and even people you don't know. You could be driving down the road and you're smiling in your car, and a person could look over and they just think, why are they smiling? We're in traffic. They must be listening to some good music, and they'll try to make up excuses, but really, all you want to be is happy, and that's all anyone wants. I think it's just about understanding how we can come to that. And I think the first step of that is becoming more positive. And that's why I brought the word why today. Because it can make our problems so much smaller and the solutions that much bigger. I'd like to thank you for watching today, and I'd like to thank you for co-creating this experience. Thank you. Goodbye.